He's a great guy, and if John called me today and said, Joe, like when they went after John McCain, when Bush went after him in South Carolina with the scurrilous comments they made about his character, I called John and I said, John, where do you want me? I'm an Al Gore guy, but where do you want me? I will show up anywhere in America to testify to the kind of man you are. And he is a good man. He is a good man. But when John came to the Congress, even then, when we traveled together, we argued like heck. We argued like heck about policy. We are friends, which is the incredible thing about a democracy. The first guy to call me when I was asked to join the ticket was John, to congratulate me. But John and I have had not bitter, but spirited arguments about everything from Amtrak to Afghanistan. We used to argue when we traveled together as friends, him as a captain of the United States Navy and me as a young United States Senator. My argument with John is not John the man. My argument with John is ideas. My argument with John is the fundamental difference John and I have about where to take this country. And it is fundamental. Ladies and gentlemen, today, and this is why Ed's such an incredible governor, they announced the unemployment figures nationwide. For the 8th month in a row, Americans have lost jobs. We have lost 604,000 jobs in America just this calendar year. We're in a position where we had 84,000 lost jobs, shattered dreams, broken homes that occurred as a consequence of this loss of work just in the month of August. We now have 6.1% of the American workforce idle. And you know what that means. When a man or woman loses their job, they not only lose their income, they lose their sense of dignity. They lose their identity, who they are. That's how we identify ourselves. That's how we're brought up. That's how in my neighborhood and yours you're identified. You're identified by your willingness to work hard, your willingness to do the right thing, your willingness to show up every day and provide for your family. And so it's not merely a lost job. It's a lost sense of identity that occurs. And I don't think my Republican friends, this ain't your father's Republican Party, by the way. This is a different Republican Party. And so, folks, when I listened to the parts of the Republican convention I could hear, because I was traveling. A lot of time I was in the air. I went from, all the way from Battle Creek, Michigan, back to Pittsburgh to Scranton, down to the west coast of Florida, east coast of Florida, then on the west coast, then back up into North Carolina and into Virginia, and then into D.C. So I've been on the road. No complaints. I've been on the road and haven't been able to see all that I wanted to see. But I tell you, it's not so much what I heard in the Republican convention when you heard John speak last night, or not so much what I heard when I heard part of what the governor had to say, the vice presidential candidate. It's what I didn't hear. The silence of the Republican Party was deafening. It was deafening on jobs, on health care, on environment, on all the things that matter to the people in the neighborhoods I grew up in. Deafening. Ladies and gentlemen, their America is not the America I live in. They see something different than I see. Ladies and gentlemen, literally, those of you, I can't swear to this because I didn't see every bit of every speech, but I asked my staff to check. Do any of you recall either candidate on the Republican ticket utter the phrase middle class? No. Did any of you hear them utter the phrase health care and how we're going to help? No. Did you hear them talk about aid to get kids to college? Did you hear them talk about aid to education? Did you hear them putting more cops on the street to make us safer? I didn't hear a thing about any of the things that matter to the lives of the people in my hometown of Scranton, the neighborhood of Delaware called Claymont, where I was brought up and went to grade school and high school, the area of Wilmington that I live in. Ladies and gentlemen, Rick Davis John's campaign manager said 2 days at the convention, and I heard this. He said, this election is not about issues. That's what he said. And everything I saw at the convention demonstrated that. It was about how well placed, and boy, she is good, how a left jab can be stuck pretty nice. It's about how Barack Obama is such a bad guy. It's about how, in fact, they got great quips. Man, they were like the kids, you know, when you went to school and you were very proud of the new belt you had or the shoes you had, and there was always one kid in the class that said, oh, are they your brothers? Remember that kid? That's what this reminded me of. Oh, I love your dress. Was that your mother's? You know what I'm talking about. What do you talk about when you have nothing to say? What do you talk about when you cannot explain the last 8 years of failure?